Hi, Lonnie Mackley here. I just want to talk a little bit about marriage and about how to improve your marriage. Um, I've been married going on 12 years now, and I've had to learn a lot of things. I'm also divorced. I was married before my wife had an affair, got a divorce, but really there was a lot of things I could have done much better in that marriage, and things that I failed in that God had to teach me how to overcome. And what I'm going to teach you is not out of a book. It's just basic things that God taught me how to be a better spouse and to improve my marriage. So these are the things that He taught me. Number one, don't try to parent or pastor your spouse. You're not their mom or your daddy. Even if they wanted you to play that role, don't play that role. Let them be their own individual. Let them grow up, and you're just their partner. You're a partner in life, and really a lot of marriages are not even based on a lot of lust or anything. They used to just put marriages together, and people just had to make it work. And marriage is really just a partnership. It's not a mentoring program. So just do your best to help your mate to get through life and avoid being their parent. Number two, your number one ministry or your number one priority in your life is your spouse. It's usually those that are closest to you that'll be your most important job in life, basically. And some people think that their spouse and their families, they get in the way, they hinder them and distract them from their ministry or their career. And you know what? It's really not like that. We get it so wrong, because it's the people that are closest to us that are our most important ministry, our most important priority to help in life. So once you put that into focus, then you'll understand that those are the people that will really matter most at the end. And really what it comes down to is just loving people. I heard a testimony about a guy that said he died and went to heaven, and I guess the thing that God asked him when he got up there, he just said, "Did you learn to love?" And I guess this guy had not really learned to love, and he got put back in his body. But that's our main priority here, is learning to love. Number three, two halves don't make a whole. We've heard that expression so many times, and two halves make a whole. Well, you know what? Two halves make two halves, and two wholes make two wholes. And the only thing that makes something whole is God. It's not each other. And the part of the half that you're missing will always come from God, and it's usually not going to come from your spouse, although there are some qualities that complement each other in a marriage that you can get from each other. But we all come into a marriage with a lot of baggage, with a lot of wounds, and it takes God to really heal those wounds and to really help us to grow through those things. And so let God make each of you a whole together, and don't let somebody make you God or devil in their life. It just doesn't work. Just be who you are, and let God make you whole. Number four, we're all a work in progress. This is where some people really miss it, because they think that it's their job to cause somebody else to grow up, and we don't realize that we're all a work in progress. We all got our problems, we all got our stuff, and we're all growing. And so if you're a perfectionist and you've been all over your mate trying to get him to be like you, well, you need to stop it, because we're all individuals, we're all different, and you're not here to clone yourself. We're just here to let God grow us up and, like I said, learn to love. So just remember that your spouse is a work in progress, and just learn to pray for them, instead of nagging them all the time. Number five, focus on the problem that's at hand. This is, you probably, when you fought with your spouse, you get into the past, and it ends up being more about winning an argument in the end than it does about whatever, who squeezed the toothpaste the wrong way or whatever it is. Try to get it back to what the real problem is, and solve the problem. If you got issues from the past or things you haven't forgiven, deal with those things separately, but try to stick with the problem. Number six, mix love into everything you do. Especially husbands, if something is really going awry, ask yourself this: am I really loving my spouse right now? Do I really feel love? And if you don't feel love, ask God for love for them, because you know what? God is love, and love comes from Him. And you may feel like you hate your spouse sometimes, but Ask God for love for your spouse, and you know what? He'll give you love, supernatural love for them. And just try to mix love into everything you do. If you're not being loving, then stop what you're doing and get loving again. And I'll tell you what, you'll avoid so many more problems when you do that. Love really does calm down a situation where harsh words just stirred up. Number 7, deep relationship is really better than sex. Marriage, we focus so much on sex, and especially in North America, that's what marriage is about. And you know what? It's not. Marriage is just for creating greater intimacy. It's for making children and mutual pleasure, and that's all it was ever intended to be. It was never meant to be idolized like it is, especially in the United States, and it was never meant to be made an idol of in marriage either. And when you focus more on just building a relationship with your spouse, it's going to be much more meaningful and long term than it would be if you just had a real hot sex life later on. That doesn't really cut it. So focus on your relationship, on just building a friendship, a deep relationship with your spouse. And if you have a great sex life, fine. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to give up on your marriage. There's lots of marriages that are not having sex 5 times a day that have very, very good relationships with each other. And that's what will really carry you into your old age, is your good relationship. Number 8, learn to forgive and ask God to help you if you can't forgive. Because if you're running around resentful all the time, chances are any little problem is just going to explode into this big, thing where you're just, raking your spouse over the coals, and they're going to wonder, where did this come from? Well, that's called resentment. So learn to pray about these things. Get them out of your heart, because it's just nothing but poison. And God will help you to do that. Just ask God to help you to forgive them if you can't, and God will help you. Number 9, avoid the 3 C's. And especially, once again, men, have a hard time with this, but the 3 C's are criticism, condemnation, and complaining. And try to weed those things out of your marriage, and life will get much better. And if you have the 3 C's at work in your marriage, criticism, condemning, or complaining, try to learn to be aware of that and to just avoid it. Number 10, all marriages can be healed. Now, you may feel your marriage is impossible. You may feel like either you don't have any love in your heart for your spouse, you hate them, they've done horrible things, you want a divorce, you want out of it, and they deserve it, blah, blah, blah. But God can heal, and I've seen this as a pastor. I've seen God heal the most terrible marriages if 2 people are willing to do it. It's not about you, it's just about you being willing to let God help you. So ask God to help you. Number 11, there is no perfect marriage. If you think there's a perfect marriage out there, there's not, because people are not perfect. We all have our junk, like I said before, and you won't find it. So you better let God make you perfect in your marriage, and just let Him work on you. Let Him work on your side of the problem, and then pray for your spouse's side of the problem. And number 12, invite God into your marriage. If you're not a Christian or you don't know God, ask Him into your heart and ask Him to help you in your marriage. We all need His help. I've heard old people talk about how great their marriages are and all this stuff, but I'm not so sure how great they really are, how deep of a relationship they really have, heart to heart or soul to soul. So ask God to really help you, because He knows everything that needs to be done in your marriage. And if you don't know the Lord, just ask Him into your heart. Just say, Jesus, come into my heart, forgive me of my sins, and be Lord of my life. And He will. And pray together. Read your Bible together with your spouse, and your marriage can work. I don't care how terrible it is. It may be absolutely horrible, but all things can be forgiven and all things can be healed if you're willing. If you're willing to soften your heart and let God do what you cannot do. So that's about it. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord bless your marriage. There's a website called Spirit-Led Recovery from Addiction, and also one called Revival Prophetic Wilderness that has teachings. Just type in Lonnie Mackley into the internet and you'll find those websites. So bless you. Have a great day. Have a great week. Bye-bye.